I'm surprised you didn't call in thick this morning.
That's like a dad joke. You can.
Oh, that's a good one.
This is Lee Hargrave, certified strength and conditioning specialist, former rocket scientist, and recent flu survivor.
This is Isis Hargrave, certified OPEX coach and nutrition guru, community builder, and a new beginnings junkie.
This is Jarod Hunsaker, certified CrossFit coach, facility manager, and aspiring air fryer chef.
And you found the EnduraLAB podcast, where we dive into the science behind fitness,
The ins and outs of better health,
and lifestyle strategies to help you live your best life.
You guys ready?
Let's go.
So, how was your guys' Christmas?
It's good. Very relaxing.
That's awesome. That's awesome for you, Jarod.
What about you
very
guys?
Relaxing. That was good. Well, we had quite the experience.
Well, we went to Illinois. It was great.
Yeah.
Last Thursday, we
Great
drove.
visit with the Hargrave family. And then afterwards, we had the drive of a lifetime, I feel like, on the way back to Texas.
As Lee said, probably one of the hardest things that he's done.
Close to, yeah.
And we've done a lot of things that are difficult in our life.
Yeah. We knew going to there that my father was a little bit under the weather. And we thought we were, in the clear until the morning we decided to leave. Isis starts feeling nauseous. I'm not feeling great, but I'm like, oh yeah, let's get this drive going. We want to make it home before Christmas. So as we start out, we hit, I guess, about the halfway mark, which luckily...
Not even. We were like an hour outside of Little Rock, which we had been driving for 4 hours out of
So you're pretty deep into
12.
Yeah. Oh, I guess not
No.
super deep.
No. Not.
The 12.
And so I'm like, Lee, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm just feeling nauseous, like I'm going to throw up. And I look at him, I go, are we going to make it? Because my mom lives in Hot Springs. And so we're like, if we need to emergency stop, we can at least stop there. And that was like an hour and a half from where we were both feeling kind of questionable. But I look at Lee and I'm like, are we going to make it? More for myself. At this point, I didn't know the severity in which he was feeling sick. And he goes, I don't know. And I'm like, what?
The uncertainty.
I'm like, what?
We might not make it.
And then he's like, pull over. And we pull over and he's like real gaggy too. And I'm like, oh no. And then we stopped at a gas station and he's like, I think I feel fine. He tells the kids, y'all ready to get home? And then it was 30 minutes later, we were in Little Rock and he goes, Isis, what's your mom's address? And then it's we get to the gate and we're 30 minutes from my mom's house. At that point, I literally thought we were going to have Jack drive.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how
he's driven a golf cart.
Yeah.
ATVs.
Windy roads of Hot Springs Village.
Yeah. And it's hilly and windy. So you're nauseous and trying to drive. I just wanted to stop and get out of the car, lay down on the road and cry. That's what I felt like.
Just take a break, cry.
So we get to my mom's, Lee and I shower, crawl in bed. We're just out for the count. And Isla and Jack are just running around, taking care of themselves, on FaceTime with my mom, doing what they need to do. Well, 8 o'clock rolls around and Jack comes in. I just threw up. And we're like, oh no. And then he's just violently throwing up every hour. And then, what was it, midnight? Isla starts throwing up. And the whole family is just boom, 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 boom.
Yep. All over the house. And so, it was just the one thing that I think that parents always really want is their kids to actually know where to throw up. And our kids missed the spot a few times.
Yeah.
Sinks,
sorry,
floors.
Mom.
So anyway, fun experience. But I'm glad yours was relaxing.
Yeah.
Should have said, oh, it was all right. It was all right.
But you are looking a little hefty, as far as swole goes.
Yeah.
Some people might take that the wrong way, but that's a good compliment for Jarod.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's easy when everyone at the gym's bringing me cookies, bread, and all the holiday foods for the Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Just it's a little easy this time of the year to put on some extra pounds.
Yeah, for those looking to add a little, functional mass, this is the perfect season.
Yeah, so Jarod hit a new PR, right?
Hit 156 on the scale.
Man.
No shoes.
Looking thick.
I'm surprised you didn't call in thick this morning.
That's like a dad joke. You can.
Oh, that's a good one. But Christmas was good. Once we finally got here, we were also relieved to just get home, and Christmas morning we were better. Although we didn't have any groceries and nothing is open on Christmas Day, like you think. Like, no groceries.
I didn't think that.
Okay. Well, I was hoping like one store would be open or one restaurant. And anyway, so we had the most creative Christmas dinners. I think I made like egg white and like sweet potato fries.
It was like
an
a
omelet.
smorgasbord of what you could, eat out of a
Find.
freezer.
Yeah. Which was kind of fun.
Yeah. Maybe it's going to be our new Christmas tradition.
No.
Freezer dinner.
It's like a freezer mashup. Just
Speaking of
anything that's in
dinners,
there.
tell me about your air fryer.
Oh yeah, so last night I made 6 chicken breasts. Just beautifully. They came out the air fryer beautifully.
So
Nice
proud
and
of you.
brown. All the seasoning is on there.
What seasoning do you use?
What I use? I use smoked paprika,
Ooh, smoked.
onion powder, garlic salt, some like Cajun seasoning, and then like a little bit of pepper.
What's the Cajun seasoning?
I have no idea.
Oh, I
No.
use Slap Your Mama.
See, I can never find it at Target.
You couldn't find
You can't
the chicken.
find a lot of things at Target.
Sure, at Target. I will get you some.
Yes.
I think I get it either on Amazon or I don't know where I get the good stuff, but I always have that.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Jarod bought an air fryer on Black Friday, right?
Yes.
And he is becoming quite the chef, which is fun for us to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you made salmon in it, which is sounded so good to me. Chicken. What else have you made in there?
Made cookies, but I was like,
Good.
Air fryer cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
they
like
have
an
a-
easy bake.
I
That's what
guess,
I
yeah.
call
They
it.
have a
Okay.
baking option, so I was like, I could probably bake some cookies.
Yeah.
You got a fancy air fryer.
It was like $250, and Black Friday it made it like $170. I was like,
Nice.
yeah, it's
So, yeah.
savings.
If you have questions on how to use your air fryer, send them in.
Yeah.
Jarod
Or
will answer 'em.
recipes you want Jarod to try.
Yeah.
That would be
that would be
fun.
good. Yeah. Well, I'm excited about today because it's one, topic that's going to be coming up for a lot of people. And this is one that we often navigate at the gym, and that is New Year's resolutions. Today, we're going to discuss why so many of them fail. Usually about 8 out of 10 people will fail on their New Year's resolutions in like the first month. How to develop a better system to set yourself up for success. If you've ever struggled to stick to your goals or want to create a winning plan for this year, this episode is for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is one of my favorite times of the years. Like I said, times of the years.
Times of the years.
Like I said, I'm a junkie for new beginnings, and like I love a good new school year or
Monday.
Yeah.
I
Every
think,
day, actually.
yeah, when you wake up, the morning.
It's a new beginning
I
and
think-
opportunity.
Yeah, I think the people really get wrapped up in, the new, whether it's the beginning of the month, right? It's the beginning of the week, beginning of the day, beginning of the year, their birthday, right?
Right.
People like to celebrate new beginnings. And so, for me, I'm more of probably the New Year's Eve Scrooge, because I just see it as kind of another day. This year it's Wednesday, right? But I am a fan of systems and goals and achieving goals for sure.
And that goes to like what motivates you.
Right.
So we'll talk about it in this podcast, I'm sure. But my motivation is kind of like the dopamine and the like feelings and energy and all that. And yours is going to be more like systematic, like checklists and things that gives you a sense of accomplishment. And that's your motivation. So,
Absolutely.
Yep.
So let's start off with the big question. Why do so many New Year's resolutions fail?
I think it comes down to people setting these huge goals for themselves. So let's say their focus is diet and eating fast food, and then boom, New Year, I'm only going to cook my food, but they have no idea how. There's all these complicated hoops to step through, or people just try to take too big of a jump, and then it's hard to stay consistent with that.
Absolutely. And I think if you set a huge goal like that and it just looms out there, you're always kind of looking at that goal and not really sure how to get there.
Mhm.
It's kind of like when you plan a vacation, you just don't say, I'm going to Tulum. right? You
Ooh, I want
gotta,
to go to Tulum. Okay, thank you for unlocking that.
you gotta plan it out, right? You can't just be like, I'm going to go to Tulum in April and then just wait till April and be like, oh,
There's
I
no
didn't,
tickets
yeah,
available.
I didn't get a hotel. I didn't plan anything. I don't even have vacation, right? There's a lot of steps to get there. So just having a big goal is never a good one for me.
Yeah, a study published found that people who set specific measurable goals are 10 times more likely to succeed than when you just set the vague ones, like you guys just mentioned. But then with that, I mean, it's the all, excuse me, or nothing mentality. So people expect the perfection from their goals. And when they slip up, they feel like, holy cow, it's over. And then they just desert that goal, which sometimes those goals need to be deserted. Because my other one was that if you pick something you really don't want to do, like if you say, I'm not going to eat out, I'm going to cook all my meals, but that's not what we really want to do. That's not really right. Like
Just
you want
forcing
to
yourself
go
to do
out
that.
to eat. Like sometimes that's an enjoyable experience. So, I mean, it should be. So I know one time for me, I made a goal to start gardening. I thought that was a hobby that I wanted to do. But I
She
love
can't even keep a
gardening.
house plant alive. So
I love it. I think it's awesome. They're beautiful, but I don't want to take the time and it's not my priority. So that shouldn't be a goal of mine. I'm going to fail that one. So you live and you learn, and I'm going to just love on everyone else's gardens, but definitely picking goals that you really want to do as well.
and I think we always talk about motivation, right? And I think that that's a big one is that people focus too much on motivation, but motivation is often fleeting. It's a discipline and having habits, but you have to be able to back your goal all the way back to what kind of habits will result in what you want, right? So I think that resolutions are great as maybe a guide or a direction. But what we're going to talk about later is being able to take a resolution into these small, easy habits to do.
So how do we turn those big goals into something sustainable? Like how do we kind of go through that and figure out that plan?
Right. So I say to focus on the small things. So, for example, in saying, I want to eat healthier, you could start with a specific actionable item like, I want to start incorporating veggies into my meal or into my lunch. That's even more specific, right? And you make those small changes each time. And that is going to help you achieve the greater goal, but like breaking it down into the smaller goals.
Yeah, I think that one example that I often use, that we had in the gym, and it just talks about a huge goal. So a client comes in, Casey, I'm going to give you a shout out, and she wanted to get ready for her wedding, right? So she wanted to actually trim down, improve her body composition, and look great in her wedding dress. So one of the things that I said is like, listen, this is going to be nutrition based, right? Not only are we working out, but we're going to look at your nutrition. I need you to write down everything that you eat. And she was so scared to hand that to me. But I just looked through, and what I'm looking for is something that happens often, right? So we want something that is going to be kind of a daily task. And I saw that she was going to Starbucks and getting this iced green tea. And I said, so is this like your morning routine? She's like, yeah, this is what I do every day. And I go, well, I looked at the nutrition contents of this, and you know how many pumps of sugar that they put in this? Can you do it without? And she goes, well, yeah, I mean, I could do that. So we've taken this huge goal of, I want to look really good in my wedding dress. And now I'm telling her, hey, just take out the sugar in your green tea. That's all you got to do. That's going to lead, that's a small habit that you can pick. It's breaking down that goal into a small habit. And when she starts doing that, things are going to happen. So that's just a fun one to think about. Ice is talking about, hey, here's a goal. Let's look at things that happen day to day and let's pick something that she can do. It's so easy, right? And that led to an awesome, awesome wedding photo.
Yeah, it was great. And I mean, with that goal clarity, it helps you really be able to track that progress, like you said. And then it brings that pride from accomplishing those goals. Not only do you look good, but like you feel good inside.
They're feeling so good. And then they're looking back and I was like, man, that was easy. What's another thing that I can add? Right. And that's how, when we look at resolutions, some of the things that I would say is you probably don't want more than 3, right?
More than that would be just too aggressive, I feel like.
Yeah, we
Harder
used to
to-
say something like if you have more than 5 goals, you don't have any goals, right? Because there's no direction. And I think it was like BJ Fogg out of Stanford. He wrote a book called Tiny Habits that I really like. And he always suggested no more than 3. And I think that's a really good thing. I think if you have a lot of goals or a lot of resolutions, don't plan on working all of them on January 1, right?
Right. I think that resolutions and goals can be 2 separate things. So for me, when you're looking at resolutions I think it's more of a big, broad, yearly concept that you then break up into monthly goals or weekly goals, things like that. So when you think about resolutions, we'll get into it, but you want to reflect on the year, you want to reflect on who you want to be. It's kind of an umbrella of this new year, new you situation. And I know Lee doesn't like that, but that's, I think, where these goals kind of come from. So when you're thinking about your year, I'm just saying like planning it out. And EnduraLAB does this when we do our yearly planning. Like we have lots of goals that we plan throughout the year. We don't just stick to 2 or 3. We're not just like 1 rep bench,
If I looked at that, the resolution would be to build a better athlete. And then I'm backing down and going through an entire year of progression of what our athletes need, what does
Okay,
make an
I
actual
see that.
better athlete, and
Yeah.
then I break it down into smaller. So like my resolution, like you were saying, is bigger, is to build better athletes
Mm-hmm.
in 2025. And then I'm going to break that down into
Yeah. And I guess I would say, what are the categories? There's like a physical, spiritual, then there's those kind of buckets that
Right.
you look at. And so, we've got your fitness covered. But
Yeah.
it's like, then, so when you're making resolutions, you kind of look into your values and look into, again, the person that you want to be.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about adding habits either. It's about what you can kind of take away or improve upon. So if you're a late night snacker, instead of having, some cookies that are in your cabinet, you can have a couple pieces of fruit or just drink a glass of water to kind of fill you up and get rid of that urge for the late night snacking.
Yeah, it's like taking a habit and replacing it. Kind of the same thing, that jumping back to the Casey thing. It was a habit that she had that we just made better, right? So if you can find an existing habit that you do, and we talk about, I have a client that I talk about this extensively with, like having something that you do when you brush your teeth, right? That's something that you do every day. So can you add something? So, he does a balance board a lot of times while he's doing that. So it's just some of those things that if you can add to habits that you already have, that's called habit stacking. And those kind of things will snowball.
And don't forget to track your progress. So I am really big on journaling or writing things down because you don't always remember what you've done. And sometimes that's a recipe for success. So it helps you not only stay accountable, but celebrate your wins as you're going through them.
Absolutely. And, that goes back to, you can have some kind of external awards around things that you can celebrate, like incentives.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was like, when I start coaching, I tell people to give me a list of 3 to 5 non-food gifts or rewards for themselves, whether that's like a bubble bath or buying a new book that they wanted to read or something, whatever floats your boat.
A new pair of pants.
Yeah.
A new shirt that shows off your
You don't
new
have
profile.
to spend money necessarily, but yeah, to that point.
Right. It could be, even going on a trip. I mean, there's a lot of incentives that you could put around goals. And, some people are motivated by that. Some people are not. So it's kind of finding things that, would give you that sense of accomplishment at the end. Sometimes it's just achieving the goal itself, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about how we actually build a plan for 2025. I love to start the year with reflection. Like I mentioned before, so I'll sit down and I'm a very pen and paper kind of person. And I like to think about what I've done, what I've accomplished, my wins, my opportunities. And this is something that I started probably in, I think, 2019. And I've made it kind of a ritual. I love to look back and see what we've accomplished. Again, we don't do that very often. Or if you sit there and you're like, man, what have I done? Like, what can you even remember? You know?
Yeah, it's like when people try to log their food after a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think I had. And then it's really easy to gloss over things. So people are like, oh, I eat healthy, right? But then you look back at their notes and, But so I think that is step one of really assessing like who you want to be, what you want to focus on for the new year.
Yeah, I think you have to look back to move forward. And I think that a lot of times people find themselves in this wheel of just doing the same goal each year. And they need to look back and figure out their hangups. Like what doesn't work, what didn't work, what did work, right?
Yeah, it's like most of the goals are centered around fitness, finances, and there's another one. But when you just say
probably relationship kind of.
Probably. But it's like, what do you really want from those things? I want to get fit. What is that? And
what
to your
fit
point,
look like?
Right, to your point. So that's a popular one, but what does that mean? So looking back at your year, it's like, why didn't fitness work for you? Why did you not achieve your goal? Or if you did, amazing. What's your next goal?
Right. And then, so let's talk about developing. So we are going to look back, right? We're going to see what worked, what didn't work. And then we're going to look forward, right? So how do we start building goals?
I say remember to align your goals with your values, because if you set a goal you don't truly want to achieve, it's just going to fall through and it's going to be harder to achieve it if you purely just don't want to do it.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't want to garden, not happening.
Don't make yourself garden.
I think it's a big one. And I've worked with even coaches who talk about, hey, what's your career path, right? And they'll say, I want this. And then, but you're also asking, well, what do you want outside of the career? And they're like, I want X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, hey, listen, I know what your career path looks like. And I know what your outside family plan, whatever looks like. And those do not align, man. So you have to really look at what you want and kind of the lifestyle that you want around it. It's like when people come in and say, I want a 6-pack. You're like, do you like the occasional alcoholic beverage? Oh, I'm sorry. That's gone.
You
right?
Can't have that.
Are you walking 10,000 steps a day? Are you giving me 8 hours of sleep? Are you missing out on some social things? Like, are you okay with that? Because if you're not, like, a 6-pack is not aligned with who you are.
Right. And what you just said is a classic example of how you set your goals. So if you say you want a 6-pack, you have to break that into quarterly, monthly, weekly targets. Like you said, are you daily walking? Are you going out socially every week, or monthly? What is happening quarterly in your life? Yeah. But if you have goals, let's give to run a marathon. We're going to break that up into a plan. And that's going to look like mileage. We're going to look into a specific plan for that.
Right. I'm going to break it down even to, hey, put your running shoes by the door. It's like, again, pack your gym bag.
Habits.
Right. It's putting that marathon goal into something daily. Hey, I need you to, walk 10 minutes when you wake up, and I need you to walk 10 minutes before you go to bed. It's just little things like that are easy to put in your day, and it's a non-negotiable.
Right. With that, things happen. But when you set those tiny little goals, it is less devastating when they don't happen. So let's say you have a training plan and maybe you don't get your long run, but you know that you're going to get your steps or,
right.
Little things like that. It reminds me of when we signed up for the New York City Marathon in 2012 and we got a group together. We raised money for pancreatic cancer. It was amazing. We're leading up to it. We're all trained. And then that year, Hurricane Sandy came and the race was completely canceled. So that's devastating and obstacles get in the way. But it was okay because we had raised money. It was awesome. that was great. And then the other thing was we were in great shape. And so we're celebrating all those wins. We really enjoyed the process, even though some runs were not fun.
As always, right?
As
You're
always.
going to have highs and lows.
But yeah, set goals, have plans for setbacks. But the way that we're kind of developing these goals is so that you feel successful, even in the small things. And even if you don't achieve that big goal, it's okay.
There's like a saying on our wall that we have, and it's focus on the process, not the outcome. And that is really kind of what we're getting into as we're breaking these down to is the process or system. We would have said, hey, let's run a marathon. And we all ran a marathon, and then we didn't run and we just stopped. That would have started that kind of cyclical wheel, right? I want to run a marathon, didn't get it. I'm going to get out of shape again. I'm not going to do anything for myself health-wise. I'm going to forget everything that I was working on. And then next year, I'm going to run a marathon, right? And then I've got to spool that back up. What we were working on was a process that people now, that's part of their life. They were a runner. And I think that comes down to kind of purpose. So we've got this guy that we were working on going from couch to Bandera 25K. And the one thing we kept saying is, you're an athlete or you're a trail runner. Like you have to identify as your goal.
Who you want to be.
Right?
Yeah.
So like if it's, I want to get fit. Well, what's your fit? Maybe your goal is, I want to be a person that never skips a workout. Right? So that is who you identify as for that, that time. And that's going to build these habits that are so awesome and way more fruitful later on than one goal in a year.
Yeah. And I feel like Jarod, like you're a big example of that. Like when earlier on, I mean, you've been with us how many years now? 4?
Coming on 5.
5. Yeah. You were like, I want to be strong and have mass. And like before, you weren't that person who was doing that because you didn't eat, you weren't cooking, like all the things that you've developed. So to be who you want to be, what are the changes that you think you had to make?
Just get better at cooking and then just consistency with eating, working out. Because if I do it for 2 days and then fall off for the next 2 days, then it's all kind of not pointless, but I'm just slowing myself down. So it's just consistency with diet, working out, and then just keeping in the community too, having other people hold me accountable. So that's helped a lot. I know you guys, if I don't work out for a while, you'd be like, hey, what's going on? And then I'm like, okay, I better work out. So just those 3 things, and that's helped me a lot.
Your lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably don't live a typical lifestyle for someone your age.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean, I think that's a good thing. I don't know if that should be like a bad thing, but you're in bed early. You work. Well, let's say I thought you did go to bed.
No, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do a lot to set yourself up for success for that goal, is what I'm saying. And we're really proud of you.
Thank you.
But what he says too about social,
right?
I mean, social and community are going to play a huge role. And I think you have to, sometimes when you pick a goal, you got to also choose your environment you're going to be in, right? So like when I ran my first marathon, who I was hanging out with, no one ran. So it's not like I could continue to hang out with that entire group and make my goal happen, because at that point in time, we were young. All the guys were going out to the bars. I couldn't participate in all of that stuff if I wanted to hit my goal. So I had to change my environment. And being part of a social group or community, obviously we're going to tout EnduraLAB's community because it's so diverse as far as, goal orientation. There's a lot of support there and a lot of accountability.
Yeah, I mean, it's our goal to help people believe in themselves and believe that they can achieve those goals. And it's really fun to watch people's confidence grow at the lab. And another thing, too, is like on the fitness side, EnduraLAB is structured in a way that like you will hit goals as we go. And that is nice because you don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about my workouts and my progressions because Lee Hargrave is programming them all, and I just do it, get the work done, stay consistent, and you're going to achieve some things you never thought possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes to kind of bring it all the way back to, our goal is to develop a better athlete at EnduraLAB. So when we plan out a year, I'm planning all of these little microcycles throughout that gives everybody kind of good wins. And all of it is programmed to make everyone a better, more complete athlete, right? So it's set up in a system that does give you those small wins. It does build habits, in 6 to 8 week chunks. And then what's really cool is if they find something that works and they continue on, or something that they love, they can break out and utilize all of the programs that we have to further their fitness even more.
So as you get more and more dopamine from your successful, wins and PRs, you want to keep going at it. And that's the goal for all your goals, is to love what you're doing. And that way it's not a task or something that you don't want to do.
Yeah, because why would you set that goal?
Right. Yeah.
It goes back to values.
And then some goals, like we all should have a goal of being healthier. And some people, that's not a goal for them. And so
that looks different for everybody.
That does look different. So we're not trying to force something down your throat, but we should want to be healthy. And that's why it's one of our EnduraLAB goals, is to make it fun for you and something that you enjoy, so that you may not have thought you wanted to be a marathon runner, but look at you now.
Right.
Running a marathon, because that tends to happen at EnduraLAB.
So I think to kind of wrap up how we're going to, set better resolutions is, for me, I would not set a ton. I know that we're going to look back at the previous year, maybe even a couple of years, of things that worked and things that didn't work. All right. Write that down. And then we're going to look forward, right? So we're going to develop some resolutions. Then I'm going to start backing those down. Number one, does that align with who I am and my values, right? Is that something that is achievable in the year? What am I going to have to do to get there, right? And so then I've got to kind of look to maybe give myself milestones along the way to that goal or that resolution. So like all of these things can be broken down. And then we're going to go even further into kind of a daily habit or a weekly habit. And we're going to develop those that actually help get you to your milestones and get you to your goals and beyond what you think you could actually do in that year.
How long do you think a process like that should take you?
Wow. I think it depends on the resolution, right? I think as you progress in some things, it actually might be longer, right? I don't know. I would definitely set aside time. It might take some people.
Because I think that is daunting, to some people, like the idea of doing your reflection and setting your goals. And it's kind of like, how much time do you think you should dedicate to that?
I don't know. Do you want to achieve your goals? That's what I would kind of look at, is like, if you really want this and are really serious about it, you're going to do the work. And I always tell people, when, like literally, I just had this conversation. We were talking about, his son was actually training with him and he wants to jump higher. And I go, well, how many times do you jump during the week? It's like, well, maybe like once or twice during basketball. I said, oh, that's not your goal. And the dad was kind of like, oh, but it's true. Your actions are going to tell me what your priorities are.
Do or do not. There's no try.
It's just one of those things. And so I said, hey, if you want to jump, and there's another saying on the wall, if it's important, do it every day, right? I said, if you want to jump higher, every day go out, warm up and see how high you can touch your backboard. And every day try to beat it, right? I said, you will be dunking in no time. So it's just one of those things, like your actions are going to show priorities on that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So you want to go into listener questions?
Yeah. Yeah, let's let's talk about some of our listener questions or common questions we definitely get from our community. And the first one that I would go into is, how do I stay motivated when I hit a plateau?
Yeah. Plateaus happen. So we kind of get in a rut, or, it's a great time to check in is what it really is. And it is one of those things like we want to stay consistent. And if we're not, we need to figure out why. Why am I missing my workout? Why am I not jumping every day? If that's my goal, is that my goal? But if it is, that's okay. Get back on it. Get consistent again. It's not about perfecting. It's about just continuing. Keep moving forward. Celebrate the progress in what you're doing. And then, like I said, tweak it if need be.
Yeah, absolutely. And know that setbacks are going to happen.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you have this big goal of a year, a day or a meal or a missed workout does not sidetrack. A week leading into snowballing effect of I'm not working out consistently, or, I'll get back on the diet in February. Those kind of things do affect, right? So it's the ability to say, hey, that's not a big deal, right? I'm going to be back on. It's kind of that 80-20 rule. I need to be good at least 80% of the time. We even plan our run plans around that. I plan, kind of our strength progressions around that. Like if I hit 80% of these workouts, I'm going to see some good stuff, right? So that is definitely important. And also just know that it's okay to change your goals throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Like
every day is a new beginning.
Every day you wake up, you can change your goals, just hash out that plan again. And no, but if you get into this and you're like, wow, I'm over my head, or, this doesn't align with who I want to be. It's okay to change. It's not that big of a deal. And if you have a supportive community, everybody understands, right?
We got your back.
That's right.
Another question we hear is, what if I don't have time? And my response to that would be just start small. 10-minute workout. You can do a lot of air squats in 10 minutes, a lot of push-ups in 10 minutes. So just knock it out. Keep it simple.
That's exactly right. And maybe if you have a goal and you're looking at it and the time commitment is huge, that should kind of be a red flag, right? Again, we want to break this down into things that are small chunks, right?
Also, people misconstrue time. They think things take longer than they do, especially if you don't want to do them.
Or if you're a teenager.
Right. Right. Unloading the dishwasher can take an hour.
Oh, yeah. It's live time.
Something we should do is a time audit podcast, because that would be really good. But 10 minutes is not a lot of time in the grand scheme, especially if you can break it up. If you would say like maybe a 5-minute plank and you did a minute spread throughout the day. I mean, little things like that.
Push-ups, right? We talk about that one a lot.
But things don't take as long as you think to. So just knock it out.
Yeah. And if you say you don't have time for a important goal, again,
we need
actions
to revisit.
Express
Right.
your priorities. So revisit that goal. Maybe we need to adjust it, right?
Right.
And then let's do one more. How do I handle unsupportive friends or family, right? So we kind of talked about this earlier about surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, right? You don't want to be around a bunch of drains. And, you want to be that person to others as well. Don't forget that everybody else is on their journey for their goals and resolutions. So the more supportive you can be for them, the better off that's going to be.
Finding your people is super important in person and online too. So a lot of people on social media might follow people that kind of depress them, or maybe they are doing something like going on a ton of vacations and, that can't be you. Like you need to kind of clean that up. Like follow people that make you want to do things that bring you joy, I should say. And
also know social media is kind of the highlight film of people's families.
Exactly. Which to some people, like for me, I love that.
Absolutely.
My personality
celebrate
takes
wins.
that, and I'm like, that is fun. I love seeing that. I love seeing everybody on Christmas opening. But some people, that is not. That's a negative.
Right.
So you really should know thyself, like Lee Long says. And then in person, which is why I love the EnduraLAB community. I come in, everybody's motivated and having fun. And I mean, that is that is such a fun place to be. A lot of people say, oh, I just love walking in the doors of EnduraLAB. It's the best hour of my day. And that's our goal there. But finding your people is so important. And I think as I get older, I like weed out more and more of unnecessary like dramas and things like that, because I have very important goals and I want to bring people up. And so I encourage everyone to find that group of people that lifts them up. Really.
Absolutely. So before we wrap this up, let's share one key takeaway for our listeners. Jarod, you want to go first?
Say, just think about where you want to see yourself in a year, or what you want to see yourself achieve in the year, and base your goals off of that. Don't base your goals off of, oh, this would be really cool so I could tell my friends about it. So I want to try to make this my goal if it's not something you truly want to be interested in.
Absolutely. Make it personal. Again, align with your values.
Yeah. Mine is going to be that I think everyone should journal and reflect. So again, to help you really create good goals and continue to progress track, I think it's really important that you journal. Like that's going to be one of my big things. I mean, it always is one of my big things, but even more this year. Like I'm building upon last year and the year before that, because I think that really helps.
And just remember, resolutions are all about finding the process. That's my big takeaway, is take time to reflect and break your resolutions into actionable steps and stay consistent. And when I say actionable steps, I'm talking about really simple, small daily habits. And if you guys need help with that, we are always here at EnduraLAB to help guide you through. I love to be able to take a goal and break it down into little things. It's just, maybe the engineering in me. But yeah, we're always here to help. So thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's ready to crush their goals in 2025. Until next time, stay strong and keep moving forward.
Bye.
Bye.